In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Camera Raw to make video color adjustments in Photoshop. All the skills and tools that you already know in Photoshop could be used on a video, such as adjustment layers and Camera Raw, which is what we will focus on in this tutorial. By the way, if you're new to the Photoshop training channel, don't forget to click on the subscribe and notification buttons. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start by opening a video. I'm going to go into File, Open, and click on this video and then click on the open button. This is going to open up this video in the timeline panel. The timeline is the panel that controls your video, and you have this playhead that you can click and drag to see the video, and you have these buttons that control the video. For those of you that are a little more advanced, this is where you have the keyframes for your position, opacity, and style. We're not going to talk about those in this video, but I wanted to point them out in case you are familiar with keyframing. And if you're not familiar with keyframes in video, then I have a video on making animated GIFs in Photoshop where I discuss these options. Check that video out. I'll place a link right below in the description. But anyway, this video is of the Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I was there earlier this year teaching Photoshop, and right outside they have a beautiful fountain, and I wanted to capture a video of it. One of the problems is that the video looks a little flat, and I would like to make it pop a little more, much like I would do with a photo. And in Photoshop, we can do just that. We can treat this video like we would treat any other image layer. If you right-click on the video and select Convert to Smart Object, the video layer becomes a smart object, and we can work with it non-destructively. We could also apply smart filters. We can go into Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and we can adjust the tonality and color of the video like we would any other image. For example, I can click and drag the highlight slider to the left to bring in detail into the sky. Then I can bring in detail in the buildings by brightening up the shadows. So I'm going to drag the shadow slider to the right. With this icon, you can see the before and the after. So just with those two simple adjustments, we've already brought in a lot of detail into this video. I'm also going to increase the clarity slider, which makes the image pop. It increases the contrast in the midtones. So right about here should work. Then I'm going to increase the vibrance, which is a smart way of adding saturation. Vibrance protects already highly saturated pixels and skin tones. If you want to find out more about the difference between these two sliders, then check out my video on vibrance and saturation. I highly recommend it. I'll place a link right below in the description. But anyway, now that we made these adjustments, I can simply press OK, and you can see how my video is updated. Here in the Layers panel, I can click on this eye icon so you can see the before and the after. I can click and drag on the playhead so that you can see how that adjustment affected the rest of the video. So I can come to this area here and click on the icon to see the before and the after and just make sure that everything looks okay. If I keep scrolling, I'm going to get to this area with these plants. And I would like to change the color of this yellowish plants so that they look greener. I also would like to bring in more detail into the trees in the background. So I can double click on the Camera Raw Filter label from the Layers panel. That brings up the Camera Raw filter once again, and I can continue adjusting it accordingly. So what I'll do is I'll click on the HSL adjustments, and I'll start by clicking on the Hue tab, and I'll make these yellow plants a little greener. So I can hover over the yellows and then click and drag the slider to the right so that those plants become a little greener. I can also change the hue of the greens, so I want to make them even more green. Then I'll click on saturation, and I'll increase the saturation of the greens and maybe reduce the saturation of the yellows just a bit. And I'll go into luminance and make the greens brighter, just so we get more detail in those greens and maybe make the yellows a bit darker. Also, notice how pixelated the sky is. That's because the video didn't capture a lot of detail in the sky. I'm going to try to fix it by using the Detail tab. I can increase the noise reduction, and notice how once I do that, the pixelation is not as noticeable. That's before and after. Also, you may notice a little bit of magenta in the sky. So you can drag the color slider to the right and try to remove some of that color noise. I'll set my image to the 100% view, then click on this icon to see the before and the after. You can also add sharpening to your video. From the Details tab, just drag the amount slider to the right. However, you're adding sharpening to the entire image as a whole. But if I hold Alt, Option on the Mac, and click on the masking slider, you'll see that the masking, when it's set to 0, is completely white, which means that the sharpening is applied to the entire image. But if I click and drag this to the right, you start seeing some areas become black. Areas that are in black will not have the sharpening effect applied. So I can go pretty far to the right just so that the details are the only things that are getting that sharpening effect. When you're done, you can press OK, and the effects are applied to the video. Since the video is in the Layers panel, we can apply any adjustment layer that we like to it. For example, we can get creative and use a gradient map and apply a really interesting effect to that video. Or you can use any of the other adjustment layers, including the color lookup adjustment layer, which applies 3D LUTs, which are color grading adjustments. They're originally designed for video. You can click on the drop-down, select one, and then tap on the down arrow key on the keyboard to scroll through all the different looks and see if any of those work for your video. In this case, all I really wanted to do was apply the camera raw filter so that I could enhance the tonality and color. When you're done making your adjustments, you can click on the flyout menu and select Render Video. From here, you can simply name your video, select where to save it, and the format. You can use H.2.64, which will probably work in most cases, and then click on the Render button, and Photoshop will render the video. This is a side-by-side comparison. On top you have the before, and in the bottom you have the after. You can see how the bottom video has more saturation. You can also see more colors in the buildings in the background. Obviously, it was a quick and subjective adjustment, but in your videos, of course, you have time to fine-tune it even further and get exactly the look that you want.